Live. Okay. We are live. All
Great.
right, Becca, how are you?
I am wonderful, Hannah. How are you?
I'm great. It's so good to be here with you. And I'm so excited and grateful that you're doing this. And oh, there's Apollo for the listeners who's joined. Um,
Special
but yeah,
guest.
yeah. Just so everyone knows that Apollo and Becca's dog Chewy are like best friends, but actually Apollo just like follows Chewy around everywhere. He's like Chewy's little stalker. And Chewy's
Love
like his
it.
big brother. So let's just get into it though. I want you to introduce yourself, and I mean I will introduce you. You are one of my amazing clients, and I mean before you were a client, you're actually a close friend, and I would say that in our time together, I have just watched you completely change into a new woman. I feel like you are like actually physically unrecognizable, like from a physical state and an emotional state and a spiritual state. And I'm so proud to call myself your coach. But I'd love if you introduce yourself to people, and then yeah, I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and it's just going to be a casual Q&A format.
Great. Thanks, Hannah. Well, very excited to be here. And one thing I would say is the feeling is mutual. I've had the best time knowing you previous to coaching, but now that we're coaching together, it's just been an extraordinary journey for me. And it has been like the biggest life-changing event, I would say, for me. And that is surpassing moving to a foreign country because it's really changed my perspective and kind of the way I see myself and the world and my relationships and everything. So it's been pretty amazing. And I'm pretty excited to kind of chat through it. A bit about me and my background. I'm originally from Denver, Colorado. I went to the University of Colorado Boulder, Lead School of Business, and I started my career at Goldman Sachs. And then I moved over with Goldman to Sydney 10 years ago in October. And since then, I've done a variety of different roles in finance. Most recently, I was head of investor relations at APA Group. And I am a proud dog mom of one, Chewbacca, as you mentioned earlier, who's friends with Apollo. And yeah, I'm an expat. I've got citizenship. And excitingly, I'm actually a week from today going to be starting my hike in Patagonia for 5 days on the W Trek. So it's going to be pretty fun. And it's actually quite interesting that the timing's aligning exactly to the day with this live, like LinkedIn Live. So yeah, I'm excited to be here.
That's so amazing. I'm so excited for you to do that. So let's just hop in. I guess, really looking at what was going on in your life when you decided that you wanted to work with a coach.
Yeah, great question. So I would say the catalyst for me starting the coaching was I was a few months into my new role and it was a new company. It was a bigger company, very fast paced. It was a step up for me in investor relations. I took a bigger role and I was finding, just kind of managing uh, all the different deadlines and kind of my life as well on top of work was proving challenging. And, I'm a big supporter in therapy. I think everyone should have a therapist. And I'd been going to therapy for several years, but I just felt like although it increased my awareness of things, it didn't necessarily give me the tools that I needed to, kind of cope with certain life challenges and kind of show up and be the best version of myself. Because ultimately, like challenges are always going to be there. Like it's not going to be a walk in the park every day is easy. Like that's life. It's our greatest teacher is these hard challenges. But I think having the adequate tools, I was lacking that. So Corey Welsh, who's one of my best friends, who's also at LinkedIn, was previously with Hannah at LinkedIn. She recommended I speak to Hannah and kind of see if that was something, an avenue I could go down to kind of help provide some tools to kind of get through some challenges and be, the best version of myself. And so that was kind of what prompted me to do it. I mean, I think the other things too, being alone in an expat in a foreign country, although I have an amazing support system with incredible friends and coworkers, it can be quite isolating. And I think taking care of a dog, he's not a child, but he's, relies on me 24/7. So I think just feeling kind of overwhelmed at times and really wanting to kind of get just get some better awareness around how I could manage challenges was huge for me. And the last thing I would say is I am a recovering people pleaser, so my friends are so important to me. However, sometimes I find historically I've been really putting myself second, and social commitments first, even if really I was too tired or too drained. And so, kind of honing in on that skill and improving that and my boundaries was huge for me because I knew it was kind of something that was preventing me from being the best version of myself, being rested, being focused. And so that was what led me all those things. But really, it was this step up in the job that kind of forced me to have to make a big change.
Yeah. Yeah. I think all of those, I mean, I do just want to highlight because it is quite common where people will come to me and they'll say, I've been in therapy for years and I have a lot of awareness, but I'm not actually changing and I'm not actually moving forward. And I think a lot of what we did together was like, okay, the awareness is there. Like you spoke about the people pleasing tendencies. It was like, okay, that's there. We know that's there, but what are we going to fucking do about it? Like we actually have to start practicing, start putting in boundaries, start asserting yourself. And then I saw you do that. I mean, we really spoke about how do you do that in work with direct reports? How do you do that with your on the executive team? How do you do that in with your CEO? How do you do that with your dog? Even how do you do that with friends? And then it was really like working through a lot of that. So that's where I saw you really step into that power and really become like more empowered in yourself was okay, I've got that awareness, but now we actually have to move forward.
Absolutely. No, that's spot on. And I think having that awareness, but then also kind of the thought, like the tools and the processes to kind of manage those situations in real time, and take a step back and think about kind of how you're approaching your life and how you can better show up for yourself. And I think boundary setting for me was huge because I pretty much lacked them across the board. And that's been pretty transformative for me.
Yeah, that's been a huge area of growth that I've seen in you. I mean, on that note, I'd love to hear from you because I feel like I can list off, I could like write a whole novel about your transformations, but I would love for you to just talk about how have you changed in coaching? I mean, I really coach across three areas. So I coach across like self-esteem, relationships, and then career.
Mhm.
Like, how do you think you have changed in each of those ways?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm a totally different person than before we started coaching. I know you kind of mentioned that, but I think before I kind of lead through the list of things that have changed for me, um, I have seen some friends recently that I've always been close with, but life gets in the way. You don't see them as regularly. And I think when you don't see someone for a long time, the change in them is quite stark. Whereas if you see someone every day, it's incremental small changes. So I've seen some people that I haven't seen in, a long time recently, and literally some of the quotes, and this is directly from people that have seen me recently, is you're a completely different version of yourself. Your growth's accelerated at a rapid pace. You look different. You carry yourself different. Your confidence in your own skin is like it has this presence that just wasn't there before, and it's unbelievable to see how far you've come. And you've matured and grown so much since I've seen you, like even a year ago. So I think it's pretty apparent in my friendships and coworkers, past coworkers that have seen me recently, that this change has occurred. And I think friends that I see regularly notice it as well. But I think it's much more stark with people I've seen, a year, 2 years, 3 years ago. So I kick off with that. But I think in terms of the things that have changed, I think, and this is something everyone struggles with, men and women, but imposter syndrome was big for me. Doubting myself, doubting my decisions, kind of going back and forth on them, maybe second guessing myself, whether it's at work or socially or life plans. And, that creates a lot of wasted energy, a lot of anxiety. You don't back yourself. And since then, I've begun to really own my space, my presence, my decision. Yeah, I might make a mistake, but that's human. That's everyone in the world. It's not a unique thing to me. And really embracing the growth mindset and really just showing up for myself. And once I make a decision, like I'm bedded down to make that decision and I go with it. And that was something that I just didn't have before. So I think that kind of skill and holding space is huge. Not apologizing for things that aren't for me to apologize for. Like if it's nothing to do with me. I mean, obviously, if something I've done and I require to apologize for it, I will absolutely. But there's a lot of, especially in women, I find it a lot, and I've observed it even more so now that I've become conscious of it. People apologizing for things when they don't need to. So kind of stopping that behavior and just saying, there's nothing to apologize here for, and changing that language, which I think, again, especially when you're with people that are very senior, that are very seasoned executives, or even just, general managers, people like that, like it actually has a big impact how you show up in that space, taking up space. As well as women, a lot of times we don't do that, and I'm like, I'm allowed to be here. I earned my way to be here. I'm going to show up. I'm not going to try to make myself smaller because I want to make someone else feel more comfortable. Like, I deserve to be here, and I'm going to own the space. And again, I think that completely changes the way people interact with you, and kind of how you command presence in a room. Your opinions are probably more vetted. People respect kind of what you have to say more because you believe in yourself and you back yourself. So they think they can back you too. So I think that's one other thing. I know I spoke about it a bit as well at the beginning, but people pleasing, it just really bogged me down. It made me really tired. And I think I'm not perfect. I still struggle with it. It's still hard for me to say no to things and put boundaries up, but I've gotten a lot better at really assessing in the moment, like, is this something I can commit to or not? And I may disappoint people. I may not be liked, but I have to take care of myself first. That is going to mean I'm a better friend, a better coworker, a better dog mom, better daughter, sister, if I'm actually putting myself first and my needs first. So I think that was one big thing. I think those are characteristics and qualities I built that have been transformative. The other things I would say is I decided to leave my job, my most recent job at APA. I decided, I wanted a career change potentially, or just rethink it, and I couldn't really do that in the current role that I was in. It was very challenging. I learned a lot. It was fantastic for career growth. I met a lot of amazing people and got to do some pretty amazing, like, outstanding things with the team. But at the end of the day, I was like, I can't necessarily do this deep thinking in this environment because it's quite busy and demanding. So I decided it was something that I wanted to, I'd learned from it, but I was ready to kind of make a change. And I also decided that it was a great time for me to travel. And it's something I've always been passionate about, travel, but I decided I wanted to take a break. And it took me a long time to get to that point. And Hannah, you would know this because we had about 1,000 conversations and one-on-one coaching about it. But I said to myself, look, this is important to me. I will be a better version of myself if I take this break to rethink what it is that I want, what it is that I think I can excel at. And I want to do that while I'm traveling. I want to hike Machu Picchu. I want to hike Patagonia. I want to go around South America. I want to spend some high quality time with my family that I've been away for an extended period now. And I want to connect with people that really ground me, like friends like Corey and others in the US, people in Europe. So I think that's big for me because I really am seeking, like, the next best thing. I know I can have an impact in the world, and I want to do something I'm deeply connected with that I can add value for. And I think having this break is going to allow me to do that and to reset and refocus. And I was in a long-term relationship. The last thing I'd say is I was in a long-term relationship that, it was quite hard, quite volatile at times. And although, there was best intentions on both sides, it was really tough. And that on top of the work stress, it was something that through coaching, I realized, this isn't working. It's better for both of us if we kind of part ways, because really we're not aligned on values. We're not communicating, and it's becoming too much. So that was probably the last change I would say, or actually the last change was last year. I went to Africa on my own. And that was a pretty amazing experience. So following the busy period at work, winding down for a lull, and the relationship ending, I decided I really wanted to go to Africa on my own. There was lots of feedback, lots of mental chatter from people, in obviously the best ways, people trying to protect you, but lots of opinions about how it wasn't safe. And I decided to do as much research as I could, do it in a safe way. And it was something I wanted to do it in my gut. And again, the coaching has really empowered my mind body connection to say, this feels good to me, this feels right. And there's going to be external, whether it's cultural, societal, friends, family, whatever it may be, and it's a fear-based mindset. And it's same with taking the break. A lot of people are like, I don't really know how smart that is, but I was like, you know what, this feels right to me. I'm not going to take all these external voices to change my mind. Like, I'm going to get close to what feels right in my body and my mind, and I'm going to do that. And I did that with Africa, and it was incredible. Nothing bad happened. I had no safety issues. I had the best trip of like, amazing trip, met amazing people, experienced beautiful cultures, saw animals on safari. And honestly, I'm so glad I did it. It was life changing. But it was scary. Like I had a lot of people kind of speaking to me about some pretty scary stuff, but I just said, look, like I can do this. I know I can do it. And I'll be aware and smart, but I'm going to do this. And it turned out great. So,
That's so beautiful to hear. And I mean, I will say that what you're just explaining, like there were quite solid internal shifts, but there were also huge external shifts. So I would say a really big internal shift that you went through, and something that you said to me when we started coaching is like, I really want to be empowered. I really want to own my voice. And what we did over and over again was like, we brought it back to you. What do you want? What do you need? And then that then caused a lot of empowerment. It really decreased imposter syndrome. But then it was also like, I think sometimes coaching, when people come to me, they can either focus a lot on internal states or external states. Like people usually start coming to me and they say, I want a promotion, or I want to get out of this relationship, or I want to be more confident, or I want to decrease imposter syndrome, or I want to feel like I'm enough. Like I maybe never feel like I'm good enough, even though I've achieved so much. And what I saw with you is that we really changed your internal state. We really looked at decreasing imposter syndrome. We looked at decreasing people pleasing. We looked at how you own your space, how you become empowered. But then that created a ripple effect. And then it was ending the relationship, taking a trip to Africa on your own, deciding to switch careers. And all of that like took a period of time. I mean, as you mentioned, we had a lot of conversations around you taking a career break, if it was the right time, what you imagined your career to be, what your strengths were. It was a lot of external conversations as well. But you really put in the work. And I will say that people that get a lot out of coaching are the people that are willing to try things and are actually willing to be uncomfortable. Because if you're signing up with a coach, something in your life isn't working and you want to change your state. So you have a problem, you want a solution, you're looking for a state change. That's why you're hiring someone. And I will say with you, why you did get great results with coaching is because you continually put yourself out there over and over again. You continually made yourself uncomfortable. And initially it was just like these small micro things of, okay, maybe I actually don't want to go out to dinner with that friend and I'd rather go for a walk instead, or I'd rather go for coffee instead. Like that really suits my lifestyle right now. And just these little things that we really focused on then allowed you to decide to resign from your job, take a 5-month trip, potentially do a career switch. So it's just, we really built those muscles in you. And now it's like, that's why you have this huge transformation. But I also just want to commend you that you've done the work. You've taken the action. Like it's you doing it. I'm just the facilitator here, but no one's going to it's like a gym, a gym membership doesn't mean shit if you don't actually go. And like you kept showing up, kept doing it, you kept making yourself uncomfortable. And that's why you've changed so much. So I just want to shout out to you that, that is why you've been able to see this like huge rapid transformation, which I'm so proud of. But changing gears a little bit. So you have coached with me both one-on-one and you're in my group program right now, the Life and Work Transformation. And I want to talk about the differences between one-on-one and group, because you have done a few of my clients actually are both one-on-one clients and have decided to do Life and Work Transformation. But I want to talk about the differences between one-on-one versus group.
yeah, no, it's a great question. And thank you for that feedback. I really appreciate it. I would say so it's been amazing to do both. And I think really with the one on one coaching, it really accelerated a lot of deeper learnings than myself and gave me the tools. But then when I decided to do the group coaching, it was, I know I've got further progression that I'm not willing to put on hold at the moment. And I think that the group coaching container can be really really supportive of the next steps and also just strengthening these muscles. Like you said, at the gym, it's kind of the same thing, right? If you don't work the muscles that maybe you've built for a period of time, they could potentially get weaker. And I also find going to a gym, I go to a gym that's group style. So you partner with people. I find partnering with people and being in a like-minded community has really helped me. And I love doing that versus just going on my own, because it actually brings out all these different elements of training that you don't necessarily get if you solo train. So it's kind of that community vibe. You also get the support, you get people to encourage you, you get people to say, look, I've been there. And I think that was what's been huge for me in the group coaching, is that so many people are going through the same things. Like, we're not alone. And you realize when you talk about some of these like pretty deep things, like these are big, deep, dark topics sometimes, you realize that everyone's struggling with these things. I mean, maybe it looks different, maybe it comes up and represents in a different way in everyone's lives, but it's a common human experience. And I think that relatability and kind of normalizing that makes you feel like you're not alone, number one, and number two, that that there's people all over the world that are struggling. So when you're in a work context and you're thinking it's just me that's maybe gaslighting myself, or I have imposter syndrome, actually realize, no, there's probably everyone in this room has a little bit of that or has gone through it. And so it just kind of, it really like lightens the load, I think, from that side of things. And in addition to that, just getting other people's perspectives on what they're thinking and how they've approached a situation or anything like that, I feel has really shined a light even further on my growth and development. Just being in that cohort has really illuminated things that I don't know if I would have gotten one on one. And I think also the structure has been really fantastic, because I tend to kind of go into all different topics and want to talk about everything, and then can get a bit derailed sometimes, like our one-on-one sessions. Whereas in the group coaching, it's very structured. And I find that is great for me too, because it keeps me on track. I think the homework as well makes you kind of pen to paper, you're writing things down, it's making you think in different ways. And I think that's really fantastic. And I think I've had this, great connection now with the cohort that we meet with every Friday. It's just fantastic to kind of be around like-minded people and just be supporting each other as well. Like, it's really powerful. And I think just having that community element to it and you're not going to probably get that in a one-on-one therapy either. I mean, I guess that's probably more than, an AA type program where people would go and get that sense of community. But I think that there's something really special about it that yeah, it's been fantastic.
Yeah, I think the group and one-on-one have a very different vibe. One-on-one is really, I feel like, a lot of laying the foundation. It's a lot of deep inner work, where we can kind of zone in on things, and it really laid the foundation. But then when we spoke about it, I really wanted you to do the group, but I was like, it's up to you. But I think the group is everything that we've coached on, and it's going to cement your learnings even more. I mean, more than half the cohort hasn't ever coached with me one-on-one, so it's definitely not a prerequisite to join in the groups. But I have heard from people that have coached with me one-on-one, like, oh, I think the penny drops, especially when we were talking about internal family systems therapy. So parts work, the explanation of it, you got to know it a bit more. Then you really started to see the deep changes in you because you understood the theory a bit more. So the group coaching, it's a bit more teaching. It is very structured. But what I have found is that sometimes in one-on-one sessions, people will be going through things and then they'll just say, like, am I crazy? Like, am I fucking insane that I feel like this? And I'm like, no, I just talked to Emily a half an hour ago. Or I wouldn't give a name, but I'd be like, no, this is actually a very normal thing. And in group, it is quite normalized. So it's like, you're not alone with your pain. You're not alone with your experiences. You're actually not that unique, but in a positive way. And like, and I think that the momentum and energy of the group allows people to process things in a different way than just one-on-one when you're just processing with a coach. I love both. I love facilitating both. I think that the one-on-ones really like is the deep, zoned in, personal. A lot of people want that one-on-one support. I do a group coaching program and a one-on-one, and I have a coach one-on-one. So I really love the combination. But yeah, I have seen even further growth in you since you've joined the group, which has been like really great to see.
Yeah, no, thank you. I do feel like the pennies dropped for me it's kind of an exponential graph, in terms of, I was kind of here when I was doing the one-on-one, and then it just has accelerated so much further since I've started doing the group coaching.
Mm.
And I think it's probably, a combination of things that I mentioned. The benefits has really cemented all the learnings, and it's real. Like, if something wasn't potentially fully resonating with me in one-on-one, I feel like it is. If it's not 100% there, it's maybe 85%. And I think that's huge. So I just, yeah, I mean, I think I want to lifelong learn. I want to lifelong improve myself and any opportunity to do that. But I think like this has been a super effective way to accelerate my growth.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I just want to shout out that if anyone is joining us either on Instagram or on LinkedIn and you have any questions for Becca, you can pop them in the chat and then we'll ask them at the end. But I did want to kind of switch gears a little bit and talk about you were actually hesitant to do both one-on-one and group. So I want to talk about, because I think that's very normal as well. And coaching with me, especially one-on-one, it is a large investment. And I think it's really normal to look at that. I mean, some people aren't, fussed about the investment. Some people are, but I just want to talk about the hesitancies that you have and then why you actually decided to move forward, because I think it is a normal process, especially if this is your first time working with a coach. So I'd love to hear a bit more about that.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. And I think for me, I am quite conscious. I mean, I've been in finance for my entire career, so I'm quite cost conscious and going into a career break knowing that I'm going to be traveling, I'm even more so focused on budgeting my money. And so I think that was the hesitation originally. I was like, no doubt, do I see so much value? I mean, I think even taking a step back in the group coaching, because I think that situation is a little bit unique because I was like, I'm about to go without an income for 5 months, maybe more. It was in my head quite a big of an investment. However, if I look back on everything that I've spent over time, it is the best money I've ever spent. I mean, I know that I'm gonna get so much more out of my life now that I'm in this place. And that was just not, I wasn't getting there on my own. And it's kind of like if you're stuck in something, you're why keep doing something that's not working? Like that's just common sense. But I think it's pretty typical for a lot of people, whether it's diet, whether it's exercise, it's like, well, you're not getting results, you keep doing the same thing that doesn't work. I want results. I want to work smarter, not harder. And if I want to be the best version of myself, like what can I do to do that? And at first, I wasn't sure because I've never done coaching. It's hard, it's conceptual, it's theoretical. It's like, well, I've never done this. So how do I know that it's actually going to pay off? And there was quite a bit of hesitancy. But then I got to a point where I was like, if I don't change my life, my life will continue to look this way. I will continue to feel this way. I will continue to show up to my relationships and to work this way. And it's not good enough. Like I am not good enough with this state. So I can either keep doing it the same that I've always done and expect the same results, or I can make a big change. And that includes showing up and investing the money and investing in myself so that I can be the best version of myself. And it will hands down pay off because I will be a better person across the board in all my community circles. I'll be a better contributor to the world, which you can't put a price on that. So I think for me, it's the best money I've ever spent because it's empowered myself to make decisions for myself, to feel a connection to myself I didn't have before and confidence I didn't have before. And that's really like priceless. But I understand if you've not done it, it is quite, you do have to get your head around it. So I think that was the one-on-one coaching, which it has paid off. It's money in spades for me. And then I think with the group coaching, it was circumstantial, but then I made the decision that again, knowing how transformative the one-on-one coaching was, I was like, why would I give this opportunity up, especially at this time where there's kind of all these life changes that are happening and I could really benefit a lot from it. And again, I just think you look back and you spend, $1,000 on a flight or $3,000 on a trip and you kind of don't think through it. And you have memories forever and you find so much value in it. I'm like, this is the same thing, except for on a much grander scale. And for me, I don't ever even think about the money anymore. I'm just like, that was such an amazing thing that I invested to be where I am today and who I am today. And I'm just so grateful that I said yes.
Oh, Becca, I feel like I'm gonna cry.
Right? Safe
Oh,
spaces.
that's so gorgeous. It's really like doing everything for me. Um, well, just, on a last note, I would say I feel like you've really covered it, but yeah, if there's anyone that just joined and wants to put any questions either in LinkedIn Live or Instagram, feel free to put them in for Becca. But what would you say to anyone that's considering or maybe on the fence about coaching or investing in coaching with me? What would be kind of the one or two things that you would leave them with?
I would say if you're thinking about it in any way, do it. I think if you want to be happier, if you want to take up space, hold presence, and show up every day in like a newfound way that you didn't know existed, say yes to it and take the risk, because ultimately life is about taking risks, and you never know what is going to happen when you take a risk. But for me, it's kind of the risk of not taking action, not trying something new, not trying something different. And the sister ship concept, where if you get on one ship, you never know what's going to happen with the other one. And I wasn't really willing to stay on that ship that I had been on. I was like, I want to jump to this other ship that's going to be so much better for me and for everyone around me, for the world. And it's just kind of thinking through, like, we've been conditioned over time in various ways, through family, through society, that has created a lot of things that sometimes aren't empowering us, aren't making us the best version of ourselves. And it's not our fault, but I think shining a light on these things and these areas to develop, and none of us are perfect, but giving us those tools, I mean, I have absolutely no doubt that it has been a huge step for me in my life. And I'm someone who likes to take care of myself, my health. It's important. And this is a mental health, this is a very important thing that you can do for your mental health, to kind of make you feel good every single day, even amongst challenges. Like, you have tools, you have fallback mechanisms, you've got a better understanding of what you need so that you can take care of yourself better. And I think that is a priceless exercise that you can go through. And I think for me, like, I actually second guess, had I not done this, where would I be? I actually visualize it and I sit with it. And I say, if I didn't do this coaching, like, I'm actually scared to know
Mm.
what my life would look like. Because I can tell you, 12 months ago, I was not in a good place. I wasn't feeling good. I wasn't healthy. I didn't feel like the best version of myself. And I think just having that, sitting in that feeling and being like, okay, this is where I'm at right now. Am I good with this? Like, look in the mirror and take some accountability for it, and then make some action happen.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, like, knowing that you're not the best version of yourself, and I would say that the shifts I've seen in you, just the way that you carry your energy, like, you are, ever since I've known you, I feel like you are the strongest version of yourself and the healthiest version of yourself, both, like, internally as well as physically. And yeah, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy that you have decided to coach. I think that, the ripple effect that now you're going to have on the world is just amazing. And I think also you've been a real inspiration for people, especially in the group program, for people who really want to change their life, change their career, and like embody who they are, empower themselves. So I can't thank you enough for coming on today. And I'm so grateful for you in my life and the presence that you hold. And I can't wait to see what's next. I'm so excited for your trip. I'm so excited. I can't wait to see you on the other side. Um, and yeah, I really, really appreciate this.
Oh, thanks, Hannah. Well, the feeling's mutual. I'm so grateful for having you in my life, and the work we've done together has been incredible. I love the opportunity to raise awareness. I think it is all about raising awareness and just saying, oh, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And just kind of lifting people up around you to kind of rethink how you're showing up and what is out there, how you can help yourself, to empower yourself and to take up space, because you deserve it. Everyone does.
Beautiful, beautiful. All right, Becca.
Thank
Well, thank you so
you.
much.
Thanks for having me.